Hey everybody, welcome to Home with the Halsteads and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making a pecan coffee cake. I'm trying to give you some really good recipes for the fall and this is one of those. It's going to sound complicated to you, but I promise you it is not. You have all of these ingredients in your kitchen. So let's get started. I'm using 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. I sifted and then I measured 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. 1 cup of white granulated sugar. 1 cup white granulated sugar. 3/4 of a cup of light brown sugar, and I packed this. 3/4 of a cup of light brown sugar. 3/4 of a cup of vegetable oil. 3/4 of a cup of vegetable oil. 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. 1 teaspoon nutmeg, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now some people say, why do you repeat it twice? Well, I'm unable to post my recipes. I wish I could, but time just does not permit. So I like to repeat it twice so that you can write it down. And that's going to be the first part of the recipe. We're going to mix this up and we're going to divide it. Once we divide it, then we're going to take half of it and we're going to add 1/4 of a cup of chopped pecans. 1/4 of a cup of chopped pecans and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And we're going to mix that together in half of the original batter, the original mix, and we're going to set that aside. And that's going to be our topping for our pecan coffee cake. Do you see where I'm going with this? It's going to be delicious. So then in a separate bowl, we're going to beat 2 eggs, 1 cup of buttermilk, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. We're going to mix that together and we're going to add that to our half of the original mix. We'll pour that in a 9x13 baking dish. We'll top it with the other half that we added the pecans and the cinnamon to make a crunchy, delicious topping. Then we're going to pop it in the oven in a preheated 350-degree oven and we'll bake it. And I may put a glaze on mine. You know, I am really big on these glazes. I love to drizzle. So we'll decide that a little bit later. It'll be delicious without it, but we may just put a glaze on it. So let's get busy and I'll show you exactly step by step how to make this delicious pecan coffee cake. Okay, let's get started. We're going to start by putting our flour in our bowl. That's 2.5 cups of flour. To that, I'm going to add our sugar. 1 cup of sugar. Next, I'll add our light brown sugar. Remember I told you that I packed this and it's kind of hard to get out when you pack it, but that's our light brown sugar. To that, we're going to add our nutmeg, a teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to take a little whisk and just mix this around and get it started to mixing together. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to go ahead and start adding our vegetable oil. This is going to be kind of thick. And we want it thick because remember we're going to half it and we're going to use half of it for our topping. So we want it to be kind of crumbly. So I'm just going to, whoops, excuse me, just pulling my camera around here or my microphone cord. I'll probably be making noise with it. So I'm just continuing to mix this up. And I tell you what I'm going to do. I do this so often, and you've seen me do it before. I'm going to slip on a glove and probably use my hands in this. We'll see how I do. Yep, I need to use my hands in this. And when I use a glove, it just doesn't stick to my hands. When I'm making cookies, sometimes I'll use a glove. So So it's just a wonderful thing to have in your kitchen. So I'm just going to mix this up like I'm making biscuit dough. Just mixing it around. See how easy that is with the glove on, and it doesn't even stick to the glove. I just love it. And I know some of you don't have access to gloves. You probably don't feel like you can afford to buy them, but I get these at Walmart. I don't mind telling you where I get them. So we're just mixing up our first part of our mixture. Okay, and that looks good to me. So now I need to half it. Does that look like about half? I think it does. I'm going to take this half and I'm just going to place it in another bowl. And remember, I said that we're going to add pecans and cinnamon to half of it. So we're just going to add those. I'm going to continue mixing. I'm going to use my hands, and this is going to be our topping for our coffee cake, our pecan coffee cake. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to set this aside. You know, vanilla would be good in this too. So now I'm going to take my eggs and I'm going to add my buttermilk, and I'm going to start mixing it. I hope you can see it. To that, I'm going to add our baking powder and our baking soda. Just mixing that around. I'm trying to get some of my little dishes out of the way while I'm mixing. Hopefully it won't be too distracting. So now I'm going to bring back the original half of the mixture. I'm going to pour this, the eggs and the buttermilk in, and I'm going to turn it off. You know, I have this thing about getting it all out of the bowl. So let me just get it out of the bowl here. And there's a little something right there. You know what that was? Sometimes little specks just get in it, doesn't it? So now I'm just mixing this around. Just like that. That was something, a part of the nutmeg. That's what that was. Because I'm seeing a good bit of it. I don't use nutmeg a lot, but this particular recipe calls for it. Okay. Y'all, this is too simple. I tell you that it sounded complicated, but it really is not. So I'm just going to stir it on the bottom. Make sure we have it all mixed together. And now we're ready to pour it into our 9x13 baking dish. And I sprayed this with a spray that has flour in it. You could just grease it and put a little flour in it or on top of it and work it in so that it won't stick. I'm going to get it all out of the pan. I can't wait for this one. Okay, kind of spread it out. Now it's time to put our topping, and this is where my glove comes in good again. See, when you've got your glove, it just doesn't stick at all. And so I'm just going to kind of spread this around. It would be difficult to use a spoon to try to spread it out. So I'm just topping it. And when I get it topped, when I get it all put in there or on top of it. Then I'm going to place it in the oven on 350 degrees. When it gets done, I'll be back and we'll look at it. When it gets cool, we'll taste it. Our pecan coffee cake is done. Look at that. Oh, it looks so scrumptious, and I can just tell you right now, I'm going to mix up some powdered sugar and some water. You could put milk in it if you wanted to, and drizzle over this baby because it's just going to make it that much more delicious. I'll be back. I did put a glaze on our pecan coffee cake, and I just used a cup of powdered sugar and not quite 2 tablespoons of water, but if you do it and it's too thin, you can just always add more powdered sugar, and vice versa. So I'm just going to cut me a piece of this. I know Doug's going to love this too. I didn't cut that evenly, but that's okay. So now I'm just going to see if this will lift out. Whoops, look at me. Let's see if we can just lift this out. There we go. Oh my goodness, look at that. Look at that. Oh, it's so tender. We want to eat it warm, so we'll taste it now. Thank you for joining me in my kitchen today. Thank you for helping me to make this pecan coffee cake. It is going to be so delicious. And you know what? It's been a while since I made it, and I forgot. The topping settles to the bottom and makes that ooey gooey taste and texture, and it's so good. So I hope you'll make one real soon. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to share our videos. And like us, and the more you like us and the more you share, the more we'll pop up on your phone or on your computer. So let's try this now. Okay, can you see it? Can you see that? Look. Oh my goodness. Let me just get me a bite off here and I'll show it to you. Look at that. It's so, so tender. Oh yeah, this is a winner. If you like nutmeg, oh my goodness, this is so, so good. If you don't like it, just leave it out and put the cinnamon in it. Just make it however you want. Have a blessed day. I'll see you again really, really soon.